When my girlfriend first told me she wanted to move out, I honestly felt relieved. Our relationship had been dying for months, and every day felt like walking on eggshells around her moods and silent treatments. But what really shocked me wasn't that she wanted to leave, it was who she wanted help from. She looked me straight in the eyes like it was the most normal thing in the world, and said, "I've asked my ex to help me move out. He has a truck, and it'll just be easier." I just stared at her, blinking. Her ex. The guy she used to cry over late at night. The same one she told me was toxic and obsessed with her. And now she was inviting him into my apartment, into my personal space, to haul away all the furniture and little things we once built our home with. I felt my stomach twist in disgust and anger, but then a calmness washed over me. Fine, I thought. If she wants him to help, let's really make it worth their while. So I smiled at her and said, "Great idea." She seemed surprised at first, probably expecting me to argue or get jealous, but I didn't give her that satisfaction. I spent the next day packing her things into boxes for her, labeling everything clearly so her precious ex wouldn't have any trouble. I made sure every cup, every dish, every pillow and picture frame was ready by the door when he arrived. When he finally pulled up in his old black truck, I greeted him like we were old friends. He looked awkward, eyes darting around the apartment, probably wondering if I'd punch him or something. But I didn't. I just helped him load box after box after box into his truck, making sure he stacked them carefully so nothing would break. My girlfriend stood there, looking confused by how smoothly everything was going. She kept asking me why I was being so helpful, but I just told her, "Hey, you deserve a fresh start." I could tell she didn't trust my sudden kindness, but by then, it was too late. Because as soon as her ex finished packing up the last box, he turned to me with a smirk, hopped into his truck, and drove off, with everything she owned. And on the kitchen counter, she found his note. "Thanks for the free furniture. My new place needed decorating." She turned pale as a ghost, her mouth hanging open, and that's when I realized she was finally about to see what real help looked like. But what happened next? That was the part that changed everything for both of us. She stood there frozen, staring at the empty apartment. It was like she couldn't process what had just happened. I watched her lips move without sound, her eyes darting around as if somehow her stuff would magically reappear. The shelves were bare, the living room echoing with every tiny sound. All her clothes, makeup, books, everything she used to decorate the place and call it hers, gone in one afternoon. She finally turned to me with tears brimming in her eyes and shouted, "What did you do?" I shrugged, leaning against the kitchen counter where her ex's note still sat. "I didn't do anything. You asked him to help you move, and he did. I guess his new place really needed your stuff." Her face, she started getting distant, complaining about everything I did, comparing me to her ex in small, sneaky ways that made me feel like I was never enough. I tried to talk to her about it so many times, hoping she'd realize how much it hurt me, but she would just brush me off or tell me I had spent so long feeling like I was nothing to her, like my feelings didn't matter. Now she was getting a taste of what that felt like. But as I watched her crying there, alone in an empty apartment, I wondered, was this enough payback? Or was this just the beginning of something darker that neither of us saw coming? As she sat on the cold floor, wiping her tears with the back of her hand, I could feel the weight of what had just happened settling in. But beneath that silence, there was still something between us, something raw and unfinished. She suddenly looked up at me with this mix of anger and desperation that made my stomach twist. "Did you plan this?" she asked, her voice low but sharp. "Did you know he'd take everything?" I didn't answer right away. I just stared at her, because honestly, a part of me wanted her to believe I did plan it. Maybe I did. Maybe I knew exactly what kind of person her ex was, and maybe I knew he'd jump at the chance to screw her over the second he could get something out of it. She liked to think she was the smart one in the relationship, but she was always blind to the obvious. She thought she could keep him around like a backup plan while I played the fool. But this time, the fool didn't lose anything, she did. She stood up, pacing around the empty living room, her bare feet shuffling across the dusty floor where the couch used to be. She started mumbling about calling the police, but I could see even she knew that wouldn't go anywhere. She couldn't tell them she trusted her ex to help her move and he drove away with all her stuff. What were they going to do? Arrest him for taking furniture she basically gave him? I watched her struggle to figure out her next move, and for a moment, I thought about how we got so messed up. There was a time we dreamed about getting our own place, saving up for a dog, maybe starting a family. But those late-night talks turned into late-night fights, and then late-night secrets. She'd accuse me of not trying hard enough, not earning enough, not loving her the way he did. Meanwhile, I was the one holding this place together, paying the rent, buying the groceries she'd forget to replace. While she paced, my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I glanced over. It was a message from my buddy Jason. So, did he really take everything? I didn't respond. Not yet. Jason was the only one who knew about her plan to move out, and how I told him I wouldn't stand in the way. He'd laughed when I mentioned her ex was the one coming with the truck. He'd told me, "Dude, let him. You'll see who she really is." And now I had. But the thing was, this wasn't just about lost furniture or some revenge prank. There was still the question of what came next. Because if I knew her at all, she wouldn't just walk away quietly. And somewhere out there, her ex now had a truck full of her secrets, old journals, pictures, maybe things she never wanted anyone to see. She might have thought losing her stuff was the worst part. But the real storm was just getting started. She stopped pacing and grabbed her phone again, her fingers shaking as she dialed another number. I watched her press the phone to her ear, her eyes flicking towards me with anger and fear mixed together. She turned her back to me, whispering harshly into the phone. I couldn't hear exactly what she was saying, but I caught words like, "Come get me," and "I don't feel safe here." My chest tightened. I wasn't going to hurt her, but I knew in her mind, she probably felt cornered. Her ex had taken everything, and now she had to face me with nothing but guilt and regret hanging over her. As she ended the call, she stood frozen for a moment, staring out the window at the street below. The sun was starting to set, casting long shadows across the bare floors, making the apartment look emptier than ever. She turned around slowly, her eyes red and puffy. "My brother's coming to get me," she said quietly. Her voice cracked a little at the end, and for a second she almost looked like the girl I once loved, the girl who used to dance barefoot in this living room when we first moved in. But that girl was long gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized anymore. I nodded without saying a word. Inside, my heart was racing, because even though part of me wanted her to leave and never come back, another part felt something dark brewing. Her ex still hadn't answered any calls or texts. Her brother showing up here was only going to add fuel to a fire that was already out of control. And deep down, I knew she wasn't just worried about losing her clothes or her makeup. She was worried about what her ex would find in those boxes. The old journals she used to write in every night, scribbling her secrets and confessions. The photos she never let anyone see. Maybe even letters she'd kept from someone else before both of us. I could see it in her eyes, pure panic hidden behind forced anger. She sat down again, this time against the wall, hugging her knees tightly. I could almost hear her thoughts racing. What if he read everything? What if he posted them online? What if he sent them to her family? Her job? Her friends? My phone buzzed again. "Jason. Bro, this is insane. She must be losing her mind. You okay?" I didn't reply. My hands were trembling slightly. I didn't know if I was okay. All I knew was that everything was about to explode. Her brother would be here any minute. Her ex was missing with her stuff. And there was nothing left between us but lies, secrets, and the heavy silence of a relationship that had fallen apart long before she ever packed a box. But this wasn't the end. The real ending was still coming, and neither of us was ready for it. I heard the rumble of a car pulling up outside, followed by a loud slam of a door. Her brother was here. She jumped to her feet, wiping her face quickly, trying to pull herself together before he came in. I could see her putting on that tough mask she always wore around her family, pretending she was in control even when everything was falling apart. A moment later, there was a harsh knock on the door. I opened it, and there he stood, tall, broad shoulders, wearing a black hoodie and jeans, his expression tight with anger. He didn't even greet me. His eyes darted around the apartment, seeing the emptiness, the boxes that never made it out, and finally landing on his sister, standing behind me looking small and broken. "What happened here?" he demanded, his voice low but dangerous. She opened her mouth to speak but no words came out. I watched her struggle to explain how her ex had taken everything, how I had let him help her move out. But before she could say anything, his phone rang loudly in his pocket. He answered it quickly, frowning as he listened. His eyes widened slightly, and then his expression turned into pure rage. He ended the call and looked at her sharply. "That was Mom," he said. "Your ex just called the house. He said he's not giving any of your stuff back. And he told Mom everything." Her face went white as chalk. What do you mean everything?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Everything," he repeated. "About the money you borrowed from him. About how you told him you'd leave your boyfriend if he helped pay off your credit cards. About how you've been texting him for months while living here with him," he said, jerking his head in my direction. She sank to the floor again, her body shaking with silent sobs. I felt my heart sink too. I never knew about any of that. I thought the worst thing she did was texting him behind my back, but this was on another level. She wasn't just sneaking around emotionally, she was using him for money while using me for a place to live. Her brother stared at her with disappointment and disgust. He turned to me. "I'm sorry, man," he said quietly. I didn't know any of this. I didn't say anything. I just stood there feeling numb, watching her crumble under the weight of her own secrets. The tension in the room was so heavy it was hard to breathe. But before anyone could say another word, her phone started ringing. It was her ex's number flashing on the screen. She hesitated, then answered with shaking hands, putting it on speaker. His voice came through, cold and casual. "Hey. Just wanted to say thanks for the furniture. And don't bother calling the cops. By the way, I read your journals. And I know everything about what you did last year. If you want your stuff back, you're gonna have to pay for it. And I mean pay big." Her eyes widened in horror, and I felt my chest tighten. Because in that single moment, everything changed. This wasn't just about moving out anymore. It was about blackmail, betrayal, and secrets none of us were ready to face. And somehow, I knew the worst was still to come. Her brother snatched the phone from her shaking hands and yelled into the speaker. "You think you're gonna get away with this? You think you can blackmail her and just disappear with all her stuff?" There was a cold laugh on the other end. "Relax, man. She promised me things. Now she's gonna keep her promises one way or another. I'll text her the number. Pay up or I'll start sending her journals to everyone in her contacts." Her brother cursed and ended the call, tossing the phone onto the floor like it burned him. She was crying openly now, gasping for air between sobs. I should have felt sorry for her. I really should have. But watching her secrets unravel like this, after everything she'd done behind my back, left me feeling oddly calm. I looked at her brother, whose hands were balled into fists. He was furious but helpless. Then, without saying anything, I picked up my phone and called Jason. He answered on the first ring. "Hey man, you good?" I didn't waste time. "You still got that contact? The one who knows how to find people who don't want to be found?" There was a pause, then a low whistle. "You serious?" "Yeah," I said, my voice steady. "This ends tonight." While her brother stared at me, Jason gave me an address where her ex was supposedly hiding out with her stuff. A shady storage unit at the edge of town. I ended the call and grabbed my keys off the counter. She looked up at me through tear-filled eyes. "Please don't go. He's dangerous." I shook my head. "No. You made this mess. I'm gonna clean it up, one last time." Her brother stepped in front of me. "I'm coming with you," he said. I didn't argue. Maybe he needed this too, to see what his sister really dragged us into. The drive was tense and silent. By the time we reached the storage place, it was pitch black except for one flickering light by the gate. Her ex's old black truck was parked outside, tailgate down, boxes stacked inside. We didn't knock. We just walked up. He stepped out of the shadows, smirking like he'd already won. "You really think you're taking any of this back?" he taunted. "She owes me." I stepped forward. "Keep the stuff. But the blackmail stops now." He laughed until her brother grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the truck. The fight didn't last long. He was all talk, no real fight in him. We pinned him down, grabbed her boxes, and found her journals stuffed in a duffel bag. Her brother opened one, flipping through the pages before tossing it to me. I was ready to toss them back to her when something slipped out, a photo I'd never seen. It wasn't her ex. It was her and Jason, my best friend, together in a hotel room, timestamped from months ago. For a second, everything stopped. The boxes didn't matter. The stolen stuff didn't matter. The worst betrayal had been sitting next to me all along, laughing at my stupid loyalty. And as her brother held her ex down, I stood there in the dark parking lot, holding proof that the real story wasn't about stolen furniture or money, but about how the people closest to you can wreck your life without lifting a finger. I stood there staring at that photo, feeling like someone had punched the air out of my chest. Jason, my best friend. All those late nights he spent listening to me vent about her, all those times he told me she wasn't worth it, it all made sense now. He knew. He knew everything because he was part of it. Her ex was still pinned under her brother's knee, groaning in pain, but I couldn't hear him anymore. Everything felt silent around me. I slipped the photo into my pocket without a word. My mind was racing, but my body felt strangely calm. I knew what I had to do. We grabbed the rest of her stuff from the truck and loaded it into her brother's car. Her ex didn't fight back anymore. He just lay there, breathing heavily, defeated. Before we left, her brother leaned down and warned him. "If you ever call her again, you'll wish all you lost was your teeth." The drive back was quiet. Her brother kept glancing at me, probably sensing something was off. When we reached the apartment, she was waiting outside under the dim streetlight, hugging her arms against the night air. Her eyes lit up when she saw her stuff, but then she looked at me and her smile faded. Maybe she saw it in my face, the brokenness, the betrayal, the numb acceptance of what had really been going on. We unloaded her boxes in silence. Jason tried calling me twice during the drive, but I didn't answer. What could he possibly say that would fix this? That it was a mistake? That he didn't mean it? None of that mattered now. When we were done, her brother pulled me aside and said quietly, "You don't deserve this, man. I know she hurt you. If you ever need anything, just call me." I nodded, too tired to say much. She tried to speak to me, tears running down her face, whispering my name like it meant something. But I just walked past her into the empty apartment that no longer felt like home. I sat down on the bare floor, resting my back against the wall. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. Hurt, yes. Angry, yes. But free. Because at the end of it all, losing her wasn't the real loss. The real loss was wasting my loyalty on people who never deserved it. And as I closed my eyes that night, I promised myself something. Next time, I wouldn't ignore the red flags. Next time, I'd save my love for someone who knew its worth.